will be presenting to us on Palestine and Israel.
Gotta say, it's rather strange to be up here presenting. And it's weird not being in my own church, too. I've got to say, it's a little strange. Well, I've had the luxury of going twice now to Israel, Palestine. You'll understand, hopefully later, why I call it Israel-Palestine with a slash. Because it's really not defined two places, although we'll get into that later. I was able to go in March 2012 with the seminary, and I was able to also go in March 2014 with other RCA clergy and leaders. So it was a whole nother spin. So last year, when I was in Israel, which is also in Lent, I had the luxury of doing the Stations of the Cross, which is also known as Via Dolorosa. In Latin, that means the way of sorrow. Now, why would I call that a luxury? And this is interactive, so you can answer the question. Why do you think I would call it a luxury to walk the Stations of the Cross in Old Jerusalem?
Because of what Jesus did.
Sure.
Not everyone gets to Israel.
Well, this is a part of the Via Dolorosa in a teeny little Old Jerusalem street. Now imagine this wall-to-wall packed with people. But most of them are from around the world. Most of them are not actually living there because Palestinians cannot, on many occasions, actually travel into Jerusalem unless they have special permits. And that only happens essentially when the Israelis feel that they can give permits, really, is the bottom line. Most of them are old folks who need medical care at the good hospitals. They're married couples, or they are cheap labor for the Israelis. Those are pretty much the people who get permits. However, because Easter and other festivities for Christians happen during Passover, Israelis often close Jerusalem to anyone except Jewish folks, Israeli Jewish folks, that is. So even if you have a permit, it is void at that point. So most people, except for those around the world, actually never get to walk the Stations of the Cross. So put a little in perspective here.
That is a luxury.
It's a luxury, exactly. Can we switch? Here's part of our wall. Now I'm going to ask a question. How long do you think the Berlin Wall was? Some of you may not remember the Berlin Wall in this room. 16.8 miles. No. No. Not quite. That's getting there. It's a little less than that. It was 96 miles long and about 12 feet high. So now just looking at this picture, which is only a very slim length of the wall, and this number is from 2012, how long do you think it was according to the 2012 number?
Well, it's definitely higher than 12 feet.
Yeah, a little bit more.
Is that about 20 feet?
About 20 feet. It is about 20 feet. And in 2012, now it's grown since then, 270 miles. And the plans are to have it grow until 420 miles. That's the impact we're talking about. That's not just a little wall to separate. That's an apartheid wall. That's what people have to go through every day when you're living on the other side.
What is separated?
What's that?
What did this wall separate them?
Israel and what Israel is claiming to be Israel and what they're also claiming then to be Palestine. So I don't have a picture here, but there's,
Palestinians live on the other side.
right, and Israelis live on the opposite side.
Is it just the wall or the circle?
Some of it is circles,
Uh-huh.
and some of it is kind of a weird outline on the water. But it's not a one straight line.
But it goes with Israelis' interpretation of where the line should be.
Well, that changes all the time, but they actually have plans to encircle even more folks, which will impact about 200,000 people when they re-establish where this wall is. But it's not a straight line. It's literally encircling people in different pockets.
Does it have security like on the border?
Oh yes, lots of security and the fencing on top. Cameras, gunmen, razor wire, everything you can imagine. So this is about, as the wall currently stands, about 95,000 Palestinians, or about 4.5% of the West Bank population, are isolated. And about 200,000 in East Jerusalem will be isolated if they continue building, which that's not stopping anytime soon. Can we? This is a mural that someone painted, which is pretty common around there. But the black donkey, which you may not see the color very well on your left, represents Israel, and the one closer on the right side represents Palestine. It's not a black and white issue. It's certainly not. The conflict is this never-ending cycle, this complex political, social issue. And they're both victims at this point, but they're also perpetrators all at the same time. And it really began probably in the late 19th century with the rise of Zionism and Arab nationalism. And this Jewish population of Europe, and they began to discuss this immigration to the land of Israel and reestablish their Jewish nation. And by the time we get to 1917, Palestine was under British control. And the Brits supported this creation of a Jewish state, and it really grew during the Holocaust era. And then by the time we get to 1947, post-World War II, the UN passed a resolution calling for Palestine to be partitioned between the Arabs and the Jews. Now, certainly that was much in favor of the Jews. But the Arabs didn't get a say in it. They were just told that's what the plan was. They had to deal with it. So now it's a perfect setup for this ongoing conflict which we have today. Arabs essentially, from the Arab-Israeli War in 1948, the Arabs, out of anger and resentment, invaded Israel, and the Israelis won. And then, since then, many of them have been in temporary refugee camps. Well, they're still living in them, so I'm not sure how temporary those are. They're now 4 generations in, at least 4 generations in living there. It's a tragedy.
But during the 40s, even the Jews were not. They were divided whether they wanted a state of Israel.
Many of them were divided.
The Hasidics were did not want.
Some of them didn't. You're right.
And
Some of them
there
did.
was much division.
Yeah. The Zionist movement really got the say, and well, now that's what's growing now. But you're right, not all of them did want that. But it seems pretty clear at this point in time that Israel is denying free access to these holy places of worship, not just for Palestinian Christians, but Palestinian Muslims as well. They cannot just go to Jerusalem, which is actually in reality only maybe 6 miles from where many of them live. But they need these permits to worship in for them, the most sacred and holy place for them in the world. But they can't go. We have the luxury here. And it's no wonder that we need Jesus so badly. It's not a mystery. But this perpetuation of conflict due to this inability to reach this stable peace deal, this vicious cycle. Palestinians have no control of their land, so they obviously feel victimized. And so then we have also that even though it's a small population, there's still an extremist movement which commits these acts against Israel. Then we have Israelis who prompt attacks against Palestine, and it's twirling. It's twirling. And then we throw in Islamic countries giving weapons and money to Palestine. We have many European countries and folks, us, giving money to the Israeli army. We're part of the problem. We're part of the problem. For the last 65 years, Israel has expanded its settlements into Palestine, which is the West Bank, the western part of Israel. They're called the disputed lands, and they're settlements that keep expanding. And the Likud party, which controls much of the Israeli government, supports this increasing number of settlers. They just go in, move into what they see as abandoned land, or blank land of sorts, and they build up these towns. This is an overview of one of the settlements, and it's a very lovely, beautiful suburban area. It's beautiful. You can go to the next one. And this is what it looks like in one of them. It's lovely. I was able to visit a family in one of them, and who wouldn't want to live in a nice, comfortable home like that? However, it's not their land. It's the land they just took, which is technically illegal, but when you're the oppressing power, you can, I guess, do what you want. But
the crazy thing over there is the fact that they don't think they're the oppressors. They think that this is their land, given to them centuries ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the rub.
Yeah.
Each side claims it's theirs from not yesterday, but centuries ago.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's given that Abraham's descendants,
Yeah.
and they're both
Right.
Abraham's descendants.
That's right.
They're the same family tree. Yep.
And that's the whole
That's the problem.
craziness of the whole thing.
But it was the UN that gave Israel permission to even have authority over the Palestinian territories. Which, yeah, this is a terrible move. And this was only until a peace deal is reduced. Well, when you're given permission over land, you're not going to reach a peace deal.